Padre Pio once revealed a shocking truth. Most Catholics are missing out on heaven's most powerful graces simply because they don't know what to say during those precious moments after receiving the Eucharist. Many ignore this warning and only realize their mistake when it's too late. Do you want to know why these words are so powerful? The few believers who discovered this secret have experienced profound spiritual transformations. Some have reported miracles, others have found peace amidst terrible suffering. But before I reveal these words that Padre Pio insisted we must say, I need to tell you something surprising that very few people know. Did you know that Padre Pio would remain in deep prayer for hours after receiving communion? His face would transform, and witnesses reported seeing him surrounded by divine light. This wasn't just devotion. He was accessing a spiritual portal that most of us walk away from without realizing what we're missing. What happens in those moments after receiving the body of Christ? According to Padre Pio, it's the most sacred and powerful time in a Catholic's life, yet most of us waste it completely. Have you ever felt that something was missing in your spiritual life, despite receiving communion regularly? Share in the comments, because your experience might help others who are feeling the same way. Now, I'm going to reveal what Padre Pio taught about these critical moments after communion, but first, there's something important you need to understand about what actually happens when the host touches your tongue. Padre Pio's relationship with the Eucharist was extraordinary. Those who witnessed him celebrating Mass described it as witnessing Calvary itself. The saint often spent hours in preparation before Mass and hours in thanksgiving afterward. To him, receiving communion wasn't merely a ritual. It was a profound mystical encounter with the living Christ. When we receive Holy Communion, Padre Pio taught, we experience something extraordinary, a joy, a fragrance, a well-being that thrills the whole body and causes it to exult. Yet he warned that most Catholics rush through this sacred moment, missing the tremendous spiritual opportunity it presents. Padre Pio had a special insight into what occurs during communion. According to his spiritual writings, when we receive the host, heaven and earth intersect in our very being. Our bodies become living tabernacles, sacred vessels containing the divine presence. This wasn't just poetic language for him. It was a reality he experienced tangibly each day. What makes his teaching so urgent is his understanding that there exists a brief window, what he called the golden moments, immediately after receiving communion, when our souls are uniquely receptive to divine grace. During this time, he taught that our prayers have extraordinary power because we are in the most intimate possible union with Christ. In these moments, he would say, we must not waste time in useless thoughts. We are like the Blessed Virgin carrying Jesus in her womb. Padre Pio believed that what we say and pray during these precious minutes could unleash tremendous spiritual power and blessing. But there's something few people realize about Padre Pio's approach to these sacred moments. While many saints have emphasized thanksgiving after communion, Padre Pio revealed specific words that he believed opened the soul completely to receive the full measure of graces available. Before I share the first powerful phrase, Padre Pio insisted we must say, you need to understand why so many Catholics are missing this opportunity. The saint observed with sadness how believers would receive the host and immediately begin thinking about their day, their problems, or worse, looking around at others. This, he lamented, is like receiving the King of Heaven and then turning your back on him while he is still speaking. And what's truly remarkable is how simple yet profound his solution was. The first powerful phrase Padre Pio urged all Catholics to say immediately after receiving communion is, Lord, I am not worthy, but only say the word, and my soul shall be healed. He taught that while we recite similar words before receiving the host, repeating them afterward, when Christ is physically present within us, has transformative power. This humble acknowledgement opens our hearts to receive the fullness of grace that Jesus wishes to pour into us. Padre Pio explained that many Catholics mistakenly believe that once they've received the host, the important part is over. But this is precisely when the most profound spiritual exchange begins. A woman from San Giovanni Rotondo once shared how her life changed after adopting this practice. Suffering from chronic illness for years, she began saying these words after communion, as Padre Pio instructed. Within weeks, she experienced not only physical improvement, but a deep inner peace she described as heaven touching earth. What makes this phrase so effective? According to Padre Pio, it's because these words combine humility with faith, the perfect disposition for receiving divine grace. The Lord cannot resist a humble heart, he would say. And when we acknowledge our unworthiness, while simultaneously expressing complete faith in his power, we create the perfect conditions for miracles. However, many make a critical mistake when saying these words. Padre Pio cautioned that they must be uttered not out of routine or obligation, but from the depths of the heart, with genuine awareness of Christ's real presence within you. It is not the words themselves that matter, he taught, but the love and faith with which they are spoken. The second phrase Padre Pio recommended is, "Jesus, transform me entirely into yourself." This profound request recognizes the ultimate purpose of receiving communion, not just to receive Jesus temporarily, but to be permanently changed by the encounter. A priest who studied under Padre Pio shared how this simple phrase revolutionized his priesthood. After incorporating these words into my post-communion prayer, he testified, my preaching became more powerful, my counseling more insightful, and my own faith significantly deeper. But before I reveal the third and most powerful phrase, the one Padre Pio said could literally move mountains when said in those golden moments after communion, I must warn you about something serious. There's a common attitude that can completely block these graces from flowing into your soul, something the saint identified as the greatest obstacle to experiencing the full power of the Eucharist. Do you know what Padre Pio considered the most dangerous approach to receiving communion? It's something nearly all of us have been guilty of at some point, and it's preventing heaven's most extraordinary graces from transforming your life. The greatest obstacle to receiving Eucharistic graces, according to Padre Pio, is routine, approaching communion without awareness, wonder, or expectation. Familiarity, he warned, can breed not contempt, but indifference. When we receive the host mechanically, thinking about breakfast or the day ahead, we essentially close the door to the tremendous graces available to us. Now let me share the third and most powerful phrase Padre Pio urged Catholics to say after communion. Lord, take complete possession of me and let nothing separate me from your love. This total surrender, offered when Christ is physically present within us, creates what Padre Pio called a divine fusion, where our will becomes perfectly aligned with God's will. A businessman from Milan once shared how this phrase transformed his life. Facing bankruptcy and family discord, he began saying these words devotedly after each communion. Within months, unexpected opportunities emerged in his business, and more importantly, his approach to difficulties changed completely. I still faced problems, he explained, but now I face them with Christ, not alone. To apply Padre Pio's teaching practically in your life, follow these specific steps after receiving communion. First, close your eyes and become intensely aware of whom you have just received. Padre Pio recommended placing your hands over your heart and mentally saying, "My God is here within me." This simple act of mindfulness creates the proper interior disposition. Second, speak these three phrases slowly and with deep intention, allowing each word to resonate within you. Lord, I am not worthy, but only say the word and my soul shall be healed. Pause. Jesus, transform me entirely into yourself. Pause. Lord, take complete possession of me and let nothing separate me from your love. Third, remain in silence for at least 2 minutes, what Padre Pio called the golden threshold. During this time, Resist the urge to recite memorized prayers. Instead, simply be present to the divine presence within you. This silence, the saint taught, is more eloquent than any prayer. Fourth, before returning to your seat, make a specific request, not a general prayer, but something precise that needs God's intervention. Padre Pio insisted that this moment, when Christ is physically present within us, is the most powerful time to present our petitions. A nurse who followed these steps faithfully shared a remarkable testimony. After praying specifically for her son's addiction during these post-communion moments, she witnessed a transformation that multiple rehabilitation programs had failed to achieve. It wasn't instant, she clarified, but it was undeniable. But there's a crucial detail about timing that Padre Pio emphasized, something most Catholics completely misunderstand. Many believe that communion's graces are limited to the few minutes while the host is physically present before being fully dissolved. But the saint revealed something far more profound about how these graces continue to operate. Padre Pio revealed that the graces of communion extend far beyond the brief time the host remains physically present. He taught that each communion can continue bearing fruit throughout our day and even our lifetime, if we maintain an awareness of what we've received. The Eucharist, he explained, is like a seed planted in fertile soil. Its growth depends not on the moment of planting, but on how it is nurtured afterward. This understanding transforms how we approach our spiritual life. If Christ truly remains with us, not just symbolically but in a real, mystical way, how might this change your approach to difficulties, temptations, or important decisions throughout your day? Ask yourself, how often do you forget about your morning communion by lunchtime? Padre Pio observed that many Catholics effectively close the door on Eucharistic graces by compartmentalizing their spiritual life, treating communion as an isolated event rather than the beginning of a day-long communion with Christ. If Catholics truly understood what they receive in communion, Padre Pio often said, there would need to be police at church doors to control the crowds who would come to receive the transformation of their souls. This isn't hyperbole. It reflects his profound understanding of what's actually available to us in the Eucharist. Consider how your life might change if you approached each communion with the expectation that it would dramatically transform you. What would be different about your relationships, your work, your response to suffering? Padre Pio insisted that when we truly open ourselves to Eucharistic grace, we become gradually divinized. Our thoughts, words, and actions increasingly reflect Christ himself. A priest who knew Padre Pio personally shared how the saint could often tell who had received communion that morning with proper disposition. There is a light in their eyes, he would say, a gentleness in their speech, a patience in their manner that betrays the presence of Christ within them. Many people report that their nights are restless and their peace easily disturbed. Padre Pio connected this directly to how we receive communion, suggesting that when we fail to fully open ourselves to Christ in those golden moments, we remain spiritually malnourished despite physically receiving the host. Have you ever noticed that some days, communion seems to sustain you throughout the day with unusual strength and peace, while other days it seems to have little effect? According to Padre Pio, this difference doesn't lie in the Eucharist itself, which is always equally powerful, but in our receptivity, primarily determined by what we say and do in those crucial moments after receiving. This understanding adds tremendous urgency to our approach to communion. If we truly grasped what's available to us in those golden moments, would we ever again allow distraction, routine, or haste to rob us of these graces? Many only realize what they've been missing when, through some circumstance, perhaps illness or travel, they're unable to receive communion. Suddenly, they recognize the profound sustenance they've taken for granted. But why wait for deprivation to appreciate this gift? The opportunity for transformation is available at your next Mass. As we conclude our reflection on Padre Pio's profound teaching about communion, let's remember the tremendous opportunity presented to us each time we approach the altar. The saint often said, "If angels could be jealous of men, they would be so for one reason: Holy Communion." This wasn't poetic exaggeration, but his genuine understanding of the privilege we often take for granted. The three phrases we've explored: "Lord, I am not worthy, but only say the word and my soul shall be healed. Jesus, transform me entirely into yourself. And Lord, take complete possession of me and let nothing separate me from your love," form a spiritual key that unlocks extraordinary graces. But like any key, it must be used properly to be effective. Padre Pio urged believers to write these phrases in their prayer books or on a small card kept in their wallet or purse. This way, immediately after receiving communion, when returning to your seat, you can pull out these words and pray them with full intention. One of his spiritual daughters testified that after beginning this practice, her experience of Mass changed so dramatically that her family noticed the difference in her entire demeanor. I invite you to make a commitment today. At your very next Mass, approach communion with new awareness. Prepare your heart beforehand by reflecting on who you will receive. Then, in those golden moments after receiving the host, pray these three powerful phrases with complete sincerity and remain in silent communion for at least 2 minutes. Many Catholics who have adopted this practice report that their experience of the Eucharist has been completely transformed. They describe a new awareness of Christ's presence that extends throughout their day, influencing their decisions, their reactions to difficulties, and their interaction with others. What prevents us from experiencing these graces isn't God's unwillingness to give, but our failure to dispose ourselves properly to receive. As Padre Pio often reminded his spiritual children, the problem is never with the sun, but with the shutters we keep closed against its light. Before attending your next Mass, consider writing out these three phrases and reflecting on their meaning. How might your life change if these weren't just words, but the genuine expression of your heart's deepest desire? What would it mean to truly allow Christ to take complete possession of you? For those struggling with persistent problems, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, Padre Pio had special advice. Bring these specific concerns to those golden moments after communion. Present them precisely and confidently, not as vague requests, but as concrete needs placed before Christ, physically present within you. If this message has touched your heart today, please share it with someone who might benefit from rediscovering the power of Holy Communion. Perhaps there's someone in your life who has grown lukewarm in their faith, or who receives communion without understanding its transformative potential. May Padre Pio intercede for all of us, that we might never again approach the altar without proper reverence, or leave without receiving the full measure of grace that heaven longs to pour into our souls. Remember his promise: if you say these words after communion with sincere faith, you will never be the same again.